October 10th, 2019 meeting of the Parker Planning Commission to order at 7 p.m. Will you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Absent is Dwayne, Eric, Ileana, and Tracy. Susan is seated for Dwayne. Kim is seated for Ileana. Okay. Next item, are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda?
No, sir, they're not.
Okay, approval of minutes. Are there any additions, corrections to the Planning Commission minutes from September 26, 2019?
No, sir.
Nope.
Do we have a motion then?
I move to approve the September 26, 2019 minutes.
Second.
Been moved by John, seconded by Rich, that we approve the Planning Commission minutes from September 26, 2019. Please signify your vote on the screen.
It's up, Gary.
Okay, that passes 6-0. All right, item number 6, resolutions. A draft resolution to adopt the 3-mile area plan. Carolyn?
Good evening, Chairman and Planning Commissioners. Tonight I'll present an overview of the 2019 3-mile area plan annual update. The town's 3-mile area plan was developed in 2006 to comply with the state's Municipal Annexation Act of 1965 that ensures municipalities are able to service newly annexed areas. The plan is required to be updated annually. What the plan does is reference planning documents from the town of Parker, as well as complies with state law. What the plan does not do is change the master plan or the planning area, or change the town's regulations or zoning. It does not obligate the town to change any of the above. The plan also references planning documents from surrounding communities and counties. This year, there were various changes to the maps included in your packets, specifically to maps 1, 2, and 5. Changes to map 1 includes the new Parker annexations, which were the Norton property, KOA property, the Straw Road right-of-way annexation, Parker Point, Meadowlark, and the Chambers Road annexation. Map 2 also references annexations in other municipalities, which includes the City of Lone Tree's Excel property, located off of Ridgegate Parkway, just east of I-25, the City of Centennial's Innova Business Park that's located east of I-25, and 3 enclaves in Centennial. These include the Fox Run condos, the Windmill Creek storage condos, and the neighborhood self-storage property. Map 2 includes changes to the transportation facilities located within the 3-mile buffer. The changes in Parker include the construction of Kings Point Way, as well as Monsenbacher roadway improvements. Changes in other jurisdictions include the start of construction on Bayou Gulch Road, the completion of the RTD Southeast rail line extension, which includes the addition of the Skyridge Station, the Lone Tree City Center Station, and the Ridgegate Parkway Park and Ride. Construction also began on Ridgegate, the roadway expansion project, as well as construction of Canyons Parkway near Castle Pines. Map 5 shows changes to the Parker Water and Sanitation Service boundary, which includes 3 properties that have been added to their service boundary, and the remainder of the changes were minor, reflecting GIS mapping refinements. Staff recommends that Planning Commission recommend Town Council adopt the 2019 3-mile area plan update. Are there any questions?
Questions for Carolyn?
Nope.
I have no questions.
All right. Any discussion up here?
It's a fairly clean project. It's just more of an updating situation that we're recommended to do. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, second what John said, it's just an updating process, and it's required to be done, so.
I agree, requirement by the law, and you guys update it every year.
I also agree it's to be updated, so I fully support it.
I agree with my fellow commissioners.
Thank you, Carolyn. That's always good information to see what's not only going on here, but in our neighboring communities as well. Do we have a motion?
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council adopt the Town of Parker's 2019 3-mile area plan.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Ruth Ann and seconded by Rich that Planning Commission recommend Town Council adopt the Town of Parker's 2019 3-mile area plan. Signify your vote on the screen. And that passes 6-0. Next item, item number 7, is a public hearing on the Newlin Crossing Filing 1 minor development plat. We will open the public hearing at 7:07.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman.
Evening, Carolyn.
Tonight, we will be reviewing a subdivision request for the Newlin Crossing Filing 1 minor development. The applicant is Plan West, and the representative is David Brem. The applicant is present to answer any questions the Commissioners might have following staff's presentation. The applicant has demonstrated that all public notice requirements have been met. The applicant is proposing a minor development plat to create 16 unbuildable tracts for future residential, commercial, roadway, and trail and open space uses on approximately 101 acres. The intent is to create saleable tracts for future development. The site was annexed into the town in 2016 and zone plan development. This plan development allows for 450 total residential units, 14 acres of commercial development, and approximately 19 acres of floodplain open space. As required by the annexation agreement, the plat includes separate tracts for the Newlin Gulch Trail, a regional north-south trail that is partly constructed north and south of the site. Those tracts are shown here in red. The property is currently used for agricultural and ranching purposes. 100-year floodplain is present on the site, shown here as Newlin Gulch. The floodplain diagonally bisects the property, north to south. Per the annexation agreement, Newlin Gulch will require a bridge prior to development that crosses from one side of the gulch to the other side of the gulch. The site is adjacent to single-family residential development on 3 sides. To the north and west is unincorporated Douglas County, and to the east is Carousel Farms located within town boundaries. Adjacent properties to the south are zoned low-density residential and are currently used for horse boarding and training. 2 access points for the overall development have been provided on this plat. These form the backbone for the future collector road and circulation within the development. The plat reserves the right-of-way for a future collector road and the Newlin Gulch Trail tracks as a future pedestrian circulation component. All other internal vehicular circulation and appropriate alternative transportation provisions will be required as a component of subsequent development plats. Staff has reviewed the requested minor development plat against the town's master plan and has determined that the request is consistent with the goals noted in the master plan and provided in staff's report. The proposed plat would create unbuildable tracts for residential, commercial, roadway, and trails and open space uses. These uses are consistent with medium-density residential development and with neighborhood centers as identified in the master land use plan and which are allowed by the zoning. The applicant is requesting the approval of a minor development plat in order to create 16 unbuildable tracts. An SIA, based on the annexation agreement, will provide triggers for infrastructure as these tracts develop. The zoning of the property allows for the proposed uses. The applicant has demonstrated that the proposal is consistent with the master plan and is compliant with the land development ordinance for a minor development plat. The annexation requirement for a separate tract for the Newlin Gulch Trail has been met. Therefore, staff is recommending that Planning Commission recommend approval for the Newlin Crossing Filing 1 minor development plat. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Carolyn?
So when you say 16 unbuildable tracks, I'm assuming these are just tracks being split up so that when plans come in to build, then we see the site plans?
They're super blocks, basically, and the intent here is that it creates use areas and tracts that can then be sold to developers
Okay.
for future development.
Just out of curiosity, why do they define them as unbuildable tracks?
Well, they're not platted into
Okay.
lots.
That's
right.
That was my
They're
big question.
big super blocks.
Okay.
There's an acronym used, SIA.
Sorry. Subdivision Improvement Agreement.
Thank you.
I also noticed that there was a comment from the Arapahoe County Public Airport Authority asking for an aviation easement. Kind of
Right. Again,
Is that just a
because this
flyover
is
zone, kind
well,
of?
this is a plat for unbuildable tracks, so that's sort of a standard comment, but it's premature at this point. They will definitely get referred out when we start to plat these tracks into lots.
Okay.
And they'll be addressed at that point. At this point, there's nothing happening out there except drawing lines.
So same thing with the plat in the Civil Department with regards to comments previously addressed?
Right. Well, further down, I think yeah.
But it's premature at this point?
Right.
Okay.
Other questions for Carolyn?
No.
No.
Questions for the owner?
I have one that's probably premature. When you go by that site, and we all drive by it daily, either the owner or maybe Carolyn, are they going to look at raising the elevation of part of that property that's closest to the intersection of Chambers and Main? Because it's in parts considerably below roadway?
That is premature at this point. Typically, when they develop, they do try to keep the natural grade intact and, for instance, might use that area for the drainage detention. But we don't really know at this point because, I mean, it's possible they could put it somewhere else.
Okay.
Other questions?
No.
All right, as this is a public hearing, we will open the meeting to public comment. If you have a comment on this issue before us, please step forward to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Chairman and
Good evening.
Council. My name is Ray Traffis. I live in unincorporated Douglas County. I'm on Stone Meadow, which is just north of this entire property. And do we have a chart or a sketch of where these 16 tracks are? Or like what's the breakout of the 16? I don't know if,
We'll try and get back to it.
It's probably a better one here. There we go. So it's sideways because I was trying to orient all the maps the same way, because otherwise it got confusing where things were at. But basically what you have is large tracts here that are commercial and residential and multifamily. They're
I don't see
just
your-
big.
I'm sorry, I don't see your arrow. Are you?
Well, because I can't really read it
Oh,
from
okay.
here, to be honest with you, but they're large tracts that have specific uses, most of which are residential. There's commercial down by the intersection.
So that
And
would be
on this
Chambers and-
side, on the west side, along Chambers. So that's, I know that's maybe not real super clear, but the truth of the matter is, we're not there yet. Other than these large areas that are identified for particular uses, such as residential versus commercial versus
Right.
whatever
So the
else.
commercial's inside the new future main road going there with
It's,
the bridge?
yeah, there's commercial on, up near that intersection, and then both of the, well, not this intersection, but the intersection on Chambers, and then down along the Chambers.
Exactly. Yeah, I know the property well. But like Mr. Howe had mentioned before, though, there is a drop-off right where the commercial area is going to be. So if the town's looking for commercial businesses there, there is a grade issue there, just like Mr. Howe pointed out. If you drive by there, it's probably 20, 30 feet lower, and something would have to be done there. But you can't necessarily use that as your drainage, because that's where your commercial property wants to go in. That's where you want to build your revenue-generating businesses there. You don't want that to be a floodplain
Well,
there.
as I said, it's really premature. We don't know where they're going to put it at this point. These are just super
Well,
blocks.
we know it's inside the circle.
They're just super blocks. They're not, that just say this area is where you can have this use, but it's not, it doesn't have streets, it doesn't have lots, it doesn't, the drainage isn't on here, because they're not there yet.
Okay.
The owner is not likely going to develop this property anyway. They're going to sell it to a developer.
Would they be selling the 16 pieces off, or would they be selling major blocks?
Not 16 pieces, no, because some of those tracks are, the trail is in 2 tracks, and, there's some tracks that are designated for things other than roadway, stuff like that.
Got it. Okay.
So the 16 tracks includes that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we will close the public comment. Any further questions for Carolyn or the owner?
I do have a question. Which direction does that gulch flow, south or north?
I was trying to figure that out myself. But it flows-
North.
Yeah.
So it would flow away from the commercial area, right?
No, doesn't it flow from the north to the south? Isn't that how it flows? Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, I'm sorry, it does flow the other direction.
Yeah, so it would flow away from the commercial area.
Right.
through
It's not
the-
like live water
Right.
most of the time, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I know this is really premature. I'm hearing a couple things, sorry. The lots are, this whole area that we're looking at here is the 108 acres or 110
About
acres.
101.
101 acres. When everybody's talking about the commercial development being inside that, I'll just call it the Half Moon Drive, that is not necessarily the case, correct? The commercial can go, is that, I mean?
No,
is
that's
the-
why there are tracks. At first, there's no lots, there's only tracks.
Right,
But
I'm
that's
sorry,
why there's
yes.
tracks, because inside the boundaries of those tracks, certain uses will be allowed. But the configuration of those uses is not really known at this point.
So
Sure.
the tract lines follow the zoning planning area lines.
Can I approach this?
Yeah, David, just give your name and address for the record.
My name's David Brem. I'm with Plan West. We're the land planners and landscape architects. And I think I can explain a little bit about this. First of all, let me digress a little bit. This has been going on for quite a few years, and it really was a cooperation between the owners and Parker and Douglas County, because when this came back after the recession of 8 and 10 and 11, Parker wanted to acquire some of the Douglas County right-of-way. So Douglas County, or Parker still owns some of those tracks that are along Chambers Road. So that's why there are so many little tracks along Chambers Road, that they've been broken up into several things. And Parker owns them today. And there's an agreement with the annexation that says when this gets developed, there's sort of a matrix on how they will be transferred in ownership and everything else. So at least 4 of them or 5 of them now are owned by Parker. So as far as the land use goes, is that area on the corner of Chambers Road and Main Street, that northeast corner, that is zoned for the commercial. There's another little piece you see there, wish I could point with a pointer, that there's 2 little tracts that congregate or make a 2-acre parcel that's at the corner of West Parker Road and Chambers Road. You can see it right kind of like in the middle of the property on the west side. That's also zoned for commercial. You know, the answer of, you know, the corner of Busy and Busier is a good commercial corner, right? The rest of it's zoned for residential. You know, various single-family and attached residential, then that's where the 400. So clearly there is a demarcation in the zoning that corner is the commercial, that's the 14 acres. The rest of it, and the little 2-acre piece, the rest of it is residential. So does that help give some context?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought
Helps a lot. Thank you.
that would help a little bit.
Yes.
You know, we've been working on this since I was young. And I should say younger, but anyhow. But so there's a lot of context and history behind it that we know about that I can share with you. So does that help?
Yes.
Any
Thank
other
you, David.
questions? Be happy to talk. Anyway, by the way, it's really exciting to be here to get this to the next step, because the next step is actual development. You know, this all creates opportunity for development. And opportunity is just like a taste. You know, we want to see development, right? So be glad to answer any other questions. Thanks.
Another question?
No.
No.
Thanks, sir. If no further questions, we will close the public hearing at 7:22. Commissioner discussion?
Well, I think the plan is pretty consistent with the master plan, and I see no reason to approve it tonight at this stage.
I mean, no reason not to.
Yeah, not to approve it.
Thank you,
I
Rich.
said that again, didn't I? I said that last
I
time.
agree with Rich. It's early on. It's a good piece of property that's been sitting there for a long time that needs to be developed. And the only concerns I have is basically the topography of the site as they develop it. Those are concerns for both drainage and for access. And I'm sure those will be addressed by whomever develops it, so I will be in support of it.
Now that I get it. Yeah, it makes sense. That whole area over there is getting developed with not a lot of commercial. You know, I'm putting the cart way before the horse, so it'll be nice to see when that is platted out.
I also support it for considering that area and the development around it. I think this is really needed.
I agree with my fellow commissioners.
Yeah, it looks like it's a step towards having something done on that property, and so I'm in support of it as well. Do we have a motion?
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Newlin Crossing Filing Number 1 Minor Development Plat.
I'll second.
It's been moved by John, seconded by Rich, that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Newlin Crossing Filing Number 1 Minor Development Plat. Signify your vote on the screen. And that passes 6-0. Any other staff items?
Just a quick reminder that next week at 5:30, there'll be training and then the Heston Chambers sub-area plan study session.
2 weeks?
2
Next
weeks.
week, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. All right, thank you, Bryce. Seeing no other items, we will adjourn at 7:25. Thank you, everybody.
Don't forget to leave the meeting.